Okay, I'm going to use my drawings to explain differential association theory. The theory is built on the assumption that deviant behavior is learned through exposure to it. So here I have Jerry, who is a 13-year-old boy who lives in what one would call maybe the projects. And then I have Henry. He's a 13-year-old boy who lives in a very well-maintained subdivision. And I'm going to be using blocks that look similar to these to show the exposure to deviant behavior these boys have, if they have any. Okay, so what I have them standing on is something kind of like a diving board. You can see both of them standing on the same diving board, and below them is deviant behavior. As one would fall off to a diving board into a pool, this would be them falling off to the diving board if exposed to deviant behavior and having too much exposure to it. Okay, so I'm going to start off by using examples of maybe one of these boys getting exposure to deviant behavior. So let's say we have Henry, who comes home from school and goes to baseball practice every day and gets picked up by his parents after practice. Then we have Jerry, on the other hand, who maybe goes home from school and hangs out with his brother, who might be into a gang or gang-related activities. So that would be exposure to deviant behavior. So I'm going to add Jerry a block. Okay, so now we're going to move over to the second page. Here we have Jerry and Henry, and you see Jerry has 2 blocks because the first block represents the gang-related activity. And then let's say Jerry or Henry goes home every night, eats supper with his family, cleans up after they eat, and they all go to bed, and it's just a happy life. Jerry, on the other hand, he goes home and maybe witnesses his dad beat on his mom and just thinks that that's normal for them. So that's where I added the second block of deviant behavior for Jerry. And you notice his diving board is kind of leaning as Henry's is just staying straight. So now after he's got 2 blocks, maybe Henry gets a bicycle for his birthday. Jerry has to watch his brother steal groceries in order for them to have food at home. So here we have Jerry with 3 blocks. The first block representing the bike, the second block representing his dad beating on his mom, and the third block representing his brother stealing the groceries. And you see Henry has no blocks because he has yet been exposed to such deviant behavior. And you see Jerry's diving board is really leaning here. You see how he went from a good diving board with little deviant behavior, a leaning diving board with 2 deviant behaviors, and now he's really leaning with deviant behavior. And he's leaning so much that he eventually falls off into the pool of deviant behavior, meaning he follows deviant behavior. So this theory has its strengths, such as showing why kids such as Jerry, who see deviant behavior all the time, showing why they may follow in the path of deviant behavior. And showing the children who's not exposed, they still have the good diving board that they're on. They still have stability, they're still got support, whereas Jerry, on the other hand, has fell down into the deviant behavior. So the weaknesses on this is maybe there are Jerrys out in the world, kids who are exposed to it, but yet they don't have they have all, let's say they have all the deviant behaviors. They have all of them, but yet they are still standing tall at the end of it, and they did not fall into the deviant behavior. So there's things like that could happen, that the kids are exposed to it, but they find a different path they go on. And then you also have the Henrys, who the kids may never be exposed to deviant behavior, but yet sometimes they might fall into the deviant behavior. So there's all kinds of circumstances where kids who might never be exposed to deviant behavior and fall down into them, and kids who are exposed almost daily and never fall down into them. So this theory does not explain that as that would be the weakness for this theory.